Hello everyone and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints skipper George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul skipper questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, George talks to us about the numerous team updates that have happened over the last few days. He discusses the rise of the Winnipeg Goldeyes, and George shares with us his enthusiasm about the return of the blacklist. Let's get right to Strike Zone.
So let us welcome back Manager George Tsamis. George, we know there are a lot of team updates for us, so let's start with there.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've spoken, and a lot of things have happened since. And the first thing, we want to congratulate Eric Voegelin for getting signed by the Toronto Blue Jays. A young lefty that's going to be pitching for a long time, and he did well for us. And so he's going to go to rookie ball with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm not sure which city yet, but that's where he's gone, and he deserves the opportunity. Dan Johnson, his contract was purchased by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he will report to Double-A to either make a start there in Double-A, or I'm not sure if they'll call him up to Triple-A after that, but I just don't know all the details. But what a great teammate he was for the guys, a very intelligent player we had. He came here as a pitcher only. They wanted nothing to do with hitting, and he hit some big home runs for us, even though he didn't want to hit. But when Sonko got hurt, we needed a bat, and he was very open to it for us. And I know he loved his time here, and I know he appreciated his time here. And we're sorry to see him go, but it's great for him, and that's why he wanted to be a pitcher anyways. Angelo Sonko, he is doing well. He will be activated when we get back off the road trip Tuesday here against Winnipeg. He will be activated. Willie Argo, the shoulder is hurt. I believe he'll have an MRI either tomorrow or Thursday, so we're not sure what's going to happen with him. Gene Escat, who had the back injury, did throw to hitters yesterday. It went well. He will throw to hitters again tomorrow, and then we will take it from there. We currently only have 8 active pitchers. But when you lose 4 starting pitchers in a 9-day span, it's kind of tough to replace them. But we will be replacing them tomorrow. We have a starter coming in tomorrow to pitch in this game. Kramer Snead will be joining us tomorrow. He will be starting Wednesday's game. He had a good season in Mexico, and the timing worked out perfectly. Because again, when you lose not one starting pitcher, when you lose 4 starting pitchers in a 9-day span, it's impossible to replace. But Kramer Snead is back with us. Their team lost in the first round of the playoffs, and we are helped out by the off day Thursday and the off day Monday, where we only need 3 starters until late next week. So the schedule's off days happen to work in our favor at this point. At the beginning of the season, we did play 28 straight days to start the season, so we didn't have the off days, but luckily for us, it worked out this way. We had the off days. Ryan Cavan is back with us, his first game yesterday, and it took a little bit longer than we thought, but we're glad he's here, and he's been a very productive player in this league, and we expect him to be a key for us in the lineup. Vinny DeFazio, the MVP of the league, he's back with us. He was bouncing between Double-A and Triple-A for a long time, but only had 60 at-bats, and so he had asked for his release so he can finish the season with us, and we hope he can have a productive season like he did last year, because he was the MVP of the league last year, and we hope he can be productive because we do need him. We have gone through a rough stretch here. And then late yesterday, or in the afternoon, when we found out we were losing Dan Johnson, we were kind of even left short-handed pitching, but he was hitting for us too, so we were in a little short there too. So we made some phone calls, tried to make a deal, asked for a couple players. One was unavailable, but David Bergeron was available, and we have acquired him, and he will be in the lineup there today, and he's been a really good hitter for Sioux Falls. And those are the updates.
Just as a reminder to people, I think you had told us that is it this Friday that is the trade deadline?
Yes, it's Friday night at midnight or 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So Friday night, you're not allowed to sign any new players unless you get a player signed to a major league organization in the final 10 days of the season. It's the only way you can replace them, or if it is a rookie catcher. if a catcher gets hurt, you are allowed to replace a player with a rookie catcher only. So that's where we stand.
Well, let us head to our fan questions this week. We first of all begin with Jim from Minneapolis, who says, how cool is it that Vinny DeFazio is back? Do you think he can have anywhere near the same kind of success as last season?
It is great to have him back. He's a great guy to have in the clubhouse, a great player for us, and we are very excited to have him back. And we had a rough week, so we were missing something, and hope he can provide a spark for us.
Mary from St. Paul would like to know, she says, Winnipeg looks so good. Do they have you worried?
They're an excellent team. That lineup is excellent. They have some good starting pitchers, and they have a real good bullpen as well. Their team is really good, and I know we didn't play well up there, but in this case, you got to give them credit. You give credit to the good team, and that team is really good. There are no outs in their lineup, and they just beat us. That's exactly what happened, and they were the better team last week.
Steve from Richfield asks, how did Winnipeg get all those guys from Joplin? This just doesn't seem right.
Well, you're right. It doesn't seem right, and that's the end of my answer.
George the diplomat. Leo from St. Paul says, do you think about who you would rather face in the first round of the playoffs, or you're not even thinking about that at this particular point?
Not really thinking about it. It's our job. We need to get in the playoffs first. Once we get in the playoffs, then we'll worry about who we are playing, but we need to get there first, and there's still plenty of games to go.
Adam from LeSueur would like to know, who do you think has been the MVP of the team so far this season?
You know what? There's been a bunch of guys that had solid seasons, but if I had to pick one today, I would say Alonzo Harris. He's been, I think he's the MVP of the league at this point. There are a couple guys in the running. Everybody knows the great center field he plays. He's spectacular out there, but he's had some big hits this year, and I don't know how many homers he has, double-digit home runs, 30-something stolen bases, and so I would say Alonzo is the MVP of the league this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's really, especially since he got hot after that first week of the season, he's been ridiculously good. Mitch from Hudson would like to know, he says, as hot as Nate Hansen has been after his wife had a baby, don't you think it would be good for him to make sure that he had a child during the season each year? This may be the spark he needs.
That's good thinking by Mitch there, and I agree with you, and that was one beautiful week. I believe he missed 17 days and had the baby and was as hot as anybody could be, and it's a great start for him since he's had the baby.
John from Brainerd asks, when looking for players for your team, do you specifically focus at least a little more of your attention on local players just because they are more readily available to you if you need them?
You look for the best players available. If they're local, that's great, but you do try to get the best guys possible, and if you have a need for something, that's who you go after.
Tim from Woodbury would like to know, he says he hears a lot of negative stories about how things are run in Texas and Joplin. What do you think will happen to those teams?
I really don't know what's going to happen. I guess there'll be meetings in the middle of October on what happens with our league, and if we get new teams or if we lose teams, but I really don't know the answer.
That's something that I take it that you're not really focused on at this particular point anyway.
At this point, I really don't care. All I care about is getting into the playoffs and winning a championship, and I really don't care about anything else.
Omar from Minneapolis would like to know, he says, I've seen that you have moved around guys in your lineup a lot this season. Is that a product of how your team is performing, or do you simply like trying new things to see how it will work?
Hey, if things are going good, we'll leave it alone. But times when you struggle, you try some different things, and with the latest additions that we have, guys are going to be fighting for at bats now. There's going to be some quality guys on the bench, and it's going to be tough to make a lineup every day, but it's our job to put the best team out there, and I think there are several guys on this team that deserve to play, but there's only 9 spots.
Beth from Arden Hills would like to know, she says, is it true that Tanner Vavra can only see out of one eye, and if so, how does he hit?
It's an amazing story, and you know what? He's a good kid, and he's an intelligent player, and he's done a good job this year, and I don't know what he's hitting. It was 290 something the other day. Now it's down to 278, but he's hit some balls hard right at people lately, and it hasn't showed in the box score, but I still think he's swinging the bat well.
Paul from Egan would like to know, he says he's heard a lot about the knuckleball this season. Can you explain why it moves the way it does?
No idea, but Dan Johnson's knuckleball, it moves, and it moves pretty good, and hitters on the other teams have told our guys, and some guys have said it's an unhittable pitch, it just moves too much, and that's great to hear, but I don't know I can't explain how it works. It's just the way it works.
Plus, he threw his for strikes. A lot of
Yeah,
people don't get that.
yeah. At the beginning, there were too many balls, but every start he got better and better, and threw a lot more strikes. And I wish him well, and I hope it works out for him.
Heading to a little MLB for us, Ralph from Burnsville says, "Is it me, or are you just as glad to see Alex Rodriguez is retired?"
Yeah, I'm with you. He's been a good player for a long time, but it's time to move on.
Zach from Minneapolis says, "George, tell the truth. The Metrodome wasn't that bad, was it?"
Absolutely not. I had no problem with the Metrodome. I actually liked it, even though it was a tough place to pitch, and I did get killed there a bunch of times. It's not too hot in there, it's not too cold in there, and there's never a rain delay, so I had no problem with the Metrodome. But obviously, Target Field is pretty nice as well, and it's better. And but again, the Metrodome, I thought it was a beautiful, a good place to play, and a great atmosphere, and a wonderful home field advantage.
I know the question of the week for George would be from Jeremy from St. Paul. Says, "How excited are you about football about to start again?"
I'm excited. Can't wait for it to start, and hopefully we can play right through opening week of the NFL. Hopefully we're still playing then, and playing in the championship at that time.
Kendall from St. Paul would like to know, do you see Aaron Rodgers rebounding to the Rodgers of 2014?
I would think so. He is one of the best guys you'll ever see. Best guys out there next to Tom Brady, and so yeah, I would think he'd have a really good season.
Ben from St. Paul asks, can the Broncos repeat with Mark Sanchez as their quarterback?
I don't know. They have a good defense, good running game, good receivers. If he just doesn't lose the ball and doesn't make mistakes, and even if they don't pass that much, I think they have a chance.
I think people kind of forget that they didn't get great quarterback play last season.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Their defense did it, and they just had good players around them.
Todd from Brooklyn Park would like to know from you. He says he loves the heated rivalries like the Bears and Packers or the Yankees and the Red Sox. Were you ever involved in such a rivalry, and what is that like?
It's great, and yes, we have two rivalries like that. When we play Winnipeg and when we play Fargo, it's great rivalries. They're excellent teams, excellent organizations, and some intense, exciting games. And I mean, after this Winnipeg and Fargo week that we had a rough week, and it makes you sick to your stomach, and I wanted to throw up. And those rivalries will do it to you. Those are two of the best ones.
We return back to Jerry's question from Circle Pines from a couple weeks ago, who said, who would you take as the first player if you were picking your fantasy football team right now?
I wouldn't know the answer to that because I don't do the drafts. I do the salary cap leagues, and I just try to fit them under the salary cap. So I would be the wrong guy to ask that question.
Lisa from Maiden Prairie would like to know, when does the new season of the Blacklist start? She's dying for it to return.
September 22nd, and that's the best question of the day.
Our last question comes from Nate from Hopkins. He says, okay, George, lay it out for us. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, up by a run, tying run on second. Who would you want to get the final out, you or Kerry Leitenberg?
And not even close. Kerry Leitenberg's been a great reliever for a long time, and I was a starter most of my minor league career and did well as a starter, but once they put me in the bullpen, I couldn't get lefties out, and I was lousy out of the pen, and Lighty was excellent. So Leitenberg wins, and it's not even a tough question. He wins easily.
Thanks for joining us this week, George.
Okay, thank you.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Saturday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Strike Zone.